Jesus, well, Mick, good to see you again. Martin, been a while. How's the missus doing? Is she well? The young ones? They're both in school now. Jesus, getting old, aren't we? There you are. Good to see you. Here, take a seat there. I know it's the usual spot for us when we were wee ones, eh? I know it's a bit wild to think it's been that long since we've been here, but sure, here we are. So, yeah, it feels like we're back in the old family pub, just down the street from us there. You know, it's just like being home again. I mean, they're even got a fire burning in the corner there. You see it? Yeah, I know. Wild. Used to be, you could get this in any pub in the country, but at least the place doesn't have that misty purple smoke you get from people smoking inside. That's the one good thing, eh? Yeah. So, I have here a pack of playing cards. 52 cards, because you, in your infinite wisdom, have asked me to teach you to play blackjack. I don't know why you've asked me to teach you to play blackjack, but sure, we can sit down and have ourselves a nice time. So, let's get ourselves the first few cards here. I've got you a drink there, it's in front of you. I know you don't drink anymore, so I got you some water. Of course, you'll be driving me home, right? Yeah, I thought so. Cheers. I also have here, these were gifts from a friend of mine. Actual legitimate poker chips, or in our case, just plain chips. But the idea here is, of course, these don't have any numerical value written on them. They're not belonging to any particular casino. They don't have any particular nomination. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pretend that these are, we'll say, €10 chips, because those are the most common. Most casinos won't let you play with anything less than that these days. So most places will want you to have a minimum bet of 10. Some places you go in Dublin, they'll want you to go up to 20. Some places might even ask for 25, but that would be pretty rare now, I won't lie. Home games, obviously, you play what you want. You can play for free, or you can, usually what I'll do is, my own home game, usually for poker, is I'll do a €5 buy-in. We'll do 5 cent, 10 cent, or 1 cent, 2 cent kind of thing. And at the end of the day, the person who wins will usually buy a round of drinks at the pub, or maybe they'll take out that night. Something simple, but something nice, for everyone. So let's start with the deck of playing cards here. So 2 jokers, they go away, leaving us with 50 cards. Now, I only have one deck here in front of me, and I'm not gonna. I don't have a shoe that I can put 6 decks into, but usually they'll do that. So, sort of ignore what I have in my hand here, right? You can see the standard count of 50 cards here, but what you need to kind of consider is the fact that it's all down to basic standard play. So, blackjack is probably one of the few games, when it comes to gambling at least, and let's be honest, it's still gambling, so don't play with money you're not willing to burn, right? If I took whatever money you're going to go to wherever you're going to when you want to learn blackjack, and you aren't willing to throw it into the fire over there, you shouldn't be gambling. That's simply how it is. So, now that's out of the way most casinos or home games are, that they'll have a dealer. In my case, I am the dealer, who will play from a shoe, which usually contains 6 standard playing decks minus the jokers. So 300 cards, right? Meaning you have how many cards? A value of 10 then. So you'd have the 10, the joker, the 10, the jack, the queen, the king. They're all valued at 10 points, or 10 score, whatever you want to say. They're all valued at 10. There's 4 of them, 6. So, you can imagine that that's the most common result is you'll pull a 10 card. And every other card then has less value, has has less opportunity, or less likely to come out. The most valuable card arguably is the ace, because usually without an ace you can't get the titular blackjack, which is usually what you want because blackjack pays out more. If you get a blackjack and your first 2 cards dealt to you by the dealer, you instantly win, and usually it'll pay you out time and a half your bet. So if you bet 10, they'll pay you 15, that sort of thing. That makes sense so far? Great. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to deal pretend cards here. So I have a little bit of space here. As you can see, I've put down a wee mat, just so that way there's less possibility of us ending up damaging anything. So I'm going to pretend that there are 5 people at the table. You are one of them. So I'm going to deal all of your cards face up. Everyone deals their cards face up except for me. I deal my first card face up, and then my second card face down. So I get my first card here face up, and then I deal the second set of cards to everybody. So I'm going to say your position number 4. So position number 1 has a 14. Position number 2 has a 13. Position number 3 has a 15. You have a 17. And position number 5 has a 13. I am showing a 10. I have to check and make sure I don't have blackjack. Okay, so I don't. So we keep playing. Usually if they're playing at an actual proper table, they'll have a little mirror that they can see if there's an ace without having to actually bend the cards. So general rule of thumb is we go through playing here. So I'll pretend to be the other players at the table. So the 14, he sees that I have a 10. So the book says on a 14 versus a 10 you have to hit. You're looking to hopefully get a 7. They got a 2, so they have a 16 now, so they're going to hit again. That is a bust, so they bust. So player number 1, I take their chips, but for the sake of discussion here, because I brought these chips with me, we're just going to pretend that they're being played and tossed around and sort of stuff like that. So position number 2 is the same. He's got a 13 versus a 10. He's going to want to hit. You got a 19 versus 10. He's probably going to stand. That's probably the smartest decision there. I believe that's correct from the book as well. Position number 3 is a 15. He's going to want to hit. He got a 10, got a king, so he has busted. You have a 17. Now, the way most casinos or gambling or whatever else will usually run blackjack is the dealer has to hit up until a 17, usually including what they refer to as a soft 17, which is an ace and a 6, because an ace can be valued at 11 or 1. So keep that in mind. In most cases, your hand is a good hand, because if a dealer hits a 17, you will push, which means that you do not lose any money. However, you're on a 17 right now, so your smart move is to unfortunately hit, and you've hit a 10, which means you lose. And our last player on the 13 hits an ace, so he has now got a 14. Hits again, has a second ace, which is now 15. Third card, 21. Wow, you got a 9, a 5, an ace, and an ace. Let me make sure I'm doing my math right here. So 9, wait, hang on, 6, 14, sorry, 6, 15, 20, 21. Oh, actually, no, he busted. Wow, okay. My math is wrong. He was actually 1 point above. It's very, very unfortunate. So what I'll do now is I will show that I actually have a 20. So everyone loses, unfortunately, on this hand, which is usually how it goes. Most people will tend to lose blackjack, even though it is technically, if you play it perfectly by the book, you will have a 49.5% chance of winning. That 0.5% chance obviously is because the dealer does not show his hand, and that kind of gives the house a way to sort of make money, because obviously what the house wants is you to come to their table and, let's say, throw up 500, 600 euros and walk away with, let's say, 400, right? Like, you haven't lost so much that you don't want to come back, but you've lost enough that the casino makes money. And a lot of the time, if you are a winning blackjack player, you will be banned, because blackjack is one of those games where the casino will make money on a lot of people who play it. Arguably, the game you want to play, if you want to play in a bunch of casinos and not get kicked out of and still be quote-unquote winning, is probably poker, largely because the casino takes a cut of every single hand played. So You know, there's the rake, as they call it, which is like what the casino takes from every single hand played. So if you play a hand saying you win €100, you actually lose, let's say, 10% of that to the casino. So the casino takes €10 and you get 90, which means that, you know, at the end of it all, the casino always makes their money. So let's go for the second hand here. Position number 1 has a 9, 2 has a 2, 3 has a 5. You have a ace. Ooh. 4, actually 5 has an ace as well, and I have a 10. Position number 1 has a 19. Position number 2 has a 12. Position number 3 has a 15. You have a soft 18. Position number 5 has a 19, soft 19. And I have a 10, and I do not have blackjack. So, obviously in this instance the same rules generally apply, so the 19 will stand this time. The 12 will hit. They have busted with 22. The 15 will hit. They have busted with 25. You will hit. You now have a 15, and then you hit again, and unfortunately you lose. The soft 19 is going to hit, and he ends up with a 13. He's going to hit again, and he unfortunately busts as well. So you'll see this is generally how things go. And my hand was actually a 13. So if lots of people had stood, it's more likely that they would have won. However, you have to kind of play off of what the dealer is showing. So if the dealer is showing a 3, the play is different. But unfortunately, so far, because in a single, you know, deck of cards, unfortunately the 10s are also the most common. But let's see if after this shuffle I can't give you a slightly different result. Let's try a riffle shuffle here. I've been practicing this a little bit. Let's see if I can't do this. Ooh. Nope, not great at this. Yeah, I'm not great at the whole riffle shuffling thing, unfortunately. I've been practicing, but I'm still sort of on the way out with that sort of stuff. But hey, I think I can do it better if I do it from the table. Yeah, there we go. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all. Alright. So, position number 1 has a 10. Position number 2 has a 10. Position number 3 has a 10. Position number 4, you have a 3. Position number 5 has a 5. I have a 10. Position number 1 has an 18. 2 has a 20. 3 has a 12. You have a 13. Position number 4 has a 15. And I do not have blackjack. Perfect. So, obviously, position number 1 probably wants to hit. And will, because that's the only real thing you can do here to hope to win. Actually, they hit the 20. They got a 10, an 8, and a 2, so they're going to stand. Position number 2 stands because they have a 20. Position number 3 is going to hit. They have a 13, and they have now busted, unfortunately. They have a 10, a 2, an ace, and a 9, which means that they are 22. And you're going to hit as well. Ooh, you've busted again. Position number 3 is going to hit. They've also busted. So as you can see, this is very common. So let's see what I have. I have a 20, which means that 1 and 2 push. They do not lose any money. They keep their money. So that's actually the first sort of standard hand of blackjack we've had. So now let's get the chips out here. So for example, usually you're going to want to bet with the 10, so let's just say there are 5 spaces here on the table. I've spaced out 5 chips individually. Now I know where I can place these cards without hitting anything. Let's do another shuffle, because I do not want to deal the same hands over and over again, even though this would probably be easier if I had a machine for it. But hey, most casinos do not actually have machine shuffling. They will casino shuffle. They will basically wash the cards on the table, meaning they will take the deck, spread it out on the table, wash it up, and then gather them up. Very common. Shuffling, however, with the 6-deck shoe is a little bit harder. A lot of the time they will play it until they run across a title card. Basically, they will have like a blank metal card, usually in silver or gold, maybe maybe like a card with the design of the casino on the front of it, and when they hit that, they will stop playing that hand, and then they will reshuffle the deck and they will start again. So let's play these hands here. Position number 1 has an 8. Position number 2 has a 10. Position number 3 has a 10. You have a 3. Ooh. Position number 4 has a... Position number 5 has a 10. I have a 10. Position number 1 has a 19. Position number 2 has a 20. Number 3 has a 15. You have a 13. And 5 has a 14. And I do not have blackjack. Perfect. So the 19, they're going to stand. The 20 is going to stand. The 15 is going to hit. He got a 17. He's going to hit again. Unfortunately, he fucked it. And he has busted. You are going to hit. You now have a 16. You're going to hit again. You now have a 17. You're going to hit again. You now have a 21. Means you hit blackjack. So this basically means you win. So you've hit blackjack. You automatically win your hand. So for example, if you bet 10, you'll get 2 more chips. So you'll get a 10 and a 5, usually. Or if you bet, say, 20, you'll get a 20, you'll get 30. So you get a 20 and a 10 chip. That sort of thing. Now, position number 5 is going to hit and he's going to bust. And I have a 20. So position number 1 loses, position number 2 pushes, position number 3 loses because they busted. You get a blackjack, so you win. Congratulations on your first win in blackjack. It is a bit of an odd game, largely because it is based entirely on probabilities. A lot of the time, if you go to a blackjack table and you're not playing precisely by the book, someone will get annoyed at you for it. So you'll end up in a position where, let's say, you've gone out for an evening and you're not particularly worried about playing the game too tightly, or you've maybe got across, maybe your Christmas bonus came in, or maybe you made a big sale or something like that. Because I don't remember what you said you were doing. You're a salesperson, yeah. Yeah, you work in marketing. So maybe your Christmas bonus comes in and you decide, you know what, time for me to go out and spend a little bit of this money on something that I don't really care about. I'm going to go out and have a nice time. I'm going to go to a local casino and I'm going to burn some money. And you go there and you're not playing by the book. Someone there will get pissed at you for not doing that, because you'll hit and you'll, let's say, get a 10 on a hit that busted you when he should have just stood, and for whatever reason that means that the dealer wins. Everyone else at the table will be annoyed at you because you caused everybody else to lose, even though you're not particularly focused on winning, right? So position number 1 has a 6, number 2 has a 7, number 3 has a 2, you have a 5, and number 5 has a 8. I have a 6. Nice not to have a 10 on exposed for a change. Okay, so position number 1 has a 16, 2 has a soft 18, 3 has a 12, you have a 15, and position number 5 has a 13. So when viewing the 16, you have to assume, when you're viewing a 6, when you're viewing any face-up card in blackjack, you have to assume the other card is a 10, which is the general rule of thumb, because 10 is statistically the most common card in blackjack. So position number 1 has a 16, which is not great, but he's going to hope that I have a 10, which means I have to then draw another card, which hopefully will be also a 10, which means that I bust, so he's going to stand. Position number 2 is going to do the same. He has a soft 18, meaning that he has one above what I would need. So for example, if I pull an ace right now and I get a 17, I have to hit again, which means that he will hopefully win. Position number 3, however, in a bad position, he has a 12. So what he's going to do is he's going to hit. He has now got a 14, which means he's going to stand. You have a 15. You're also in a bad position, because let's say I flip this over, I've got a 10, and I draw a 2, you lose. So what you're hoping for in this case is me to draw a bad card. So you're going to stand. Position number 5, however, is going to hit, because he's only got a 13. He now has a 17, because he just pulled a 4. Now I expose. I actually have a 14, which is good, because it basically means there's more and more decks, more and more cards in the deck that will bust me. So for example, I now have a 17, which means that I stand, because I hit 17, which means position number 1, and unfortunately you and position number 3 lose. I believe that's the math on that. 8, 5, 13, 17. No, also position 5 loses as well. So position number 2 wins, and position number... That's it. Everyone else loses, unfortunately. So sometimes that's how blackjack will be sometimes, is unfortunately the cards will not work out in the way that you hope. if I had pulled, let's just look at what the next card would have been there. If I had pulled the next card, which was a 5, which would have been a 19, which would have been enough as well. So unfortunately, you didn't one card your way out of that, which does happen, unfortunately. Sometimes things just don't work out, and you have to just kind of accept that with gambling, right? Is that sometimes the cards that you have in your hand just aren't good enough. Now, obviously, as I said, you can play things as closely to the book as possible, which in Blackjack helps, but you're still not going to be winning, right? The general rule is that you're probably going to lose more money than you win. But I'm only teaching you this because I want you to know what you're doing at the very least. I don't want you walking into a casino and getting taught by some drunk dude who's never won a game in his life. So, at least I'm mostly sober. Right, let's play here. So number 1 is a 7, number 2 is a 7, number 3 is a 10, and you are a 7. Number 4 is a 10. I have a 8. Number 1 has a 17, number 2 has a 17, number 3 has a 13, number 4 has a 9, and number 5 has a 19. Okay, so here's something interesting. I'm going to teach you about doubling down. So, the idea behind doubling down is you have a specific range of cards. For example, if you have a 10, if you have a 19, if you have an 11, from your 2 cards that you're showing, you double down. And what that means is you double the amount of money in your bet, you get 1 more card, and that's it. You do not have any other options. You cannot take a hit anymore, you can't do anything. So, position number 1, he sees my 18. He is going to stand, so is position number 2. Position number 3, however, he's going to take a hit, which is good for him. He's got a 19 now. And then position number 4, you're going to double down. So we're going to take 2 chips to signify that you are doubling down. And I'm going to give you 1 more card, which is this 10. So you now have a 19 total, which is very good versus my 8. And then 19 here, number 5, he's going to stand. So I'm then going to expose. I have a 14. Again, I'm going to hit. That is a 24. That means everybody else at the table wins, which is exactly what everyone wants. So that means that everyone gets their bets paid out. So if everyone here was playing 10, say, everyone here has just won 20, except for you. You have won 40 because you doubled down. So well done to you for that. Wow, that rain's coming down hard out there, isn't it? I suppose it's to be expected this time of year. Well done, well done. So I'm going to try and give you a hand here in this case. Obviously, I'm not a magician. I can't trade. I don't know exactly how to track cards and shuffle cards around that way. Which that's another thing you should probably pay attention to. Never gamble with strangers. One of my favorite YouTubers likes to say that. Never gamble with strangers. And he's a performance magician. He like goes on what's the word? Cruises and stuff like that as like an entertainer, and he does these really cool card tricks, and will like pull out 4 aces in a row, just shuffling randomly while talking to you and not looking at the deck, and it's very interesting how he does it, which is why I do agree with him. You should never gamble with strangers. So if you ever don't gamble at someone's house if you've never met them before. Go to a casino, go to somewhere that can be moderately trusted to not screw you out of your money. Though casinos are screwing you out of your money, but at least they're honest about it. All right, position number 5. Number 1 has a 5, number 2 has a 3, number 4 has a 7, you have a 10, and number 5 has a jack, so a 10. I have a 2. Position number 1 has a 14, 2 has a 13, 3 has a 12, you have a 14, 5 has 20, a pair of jacks, and then Alright, cool. So what's going to happen here is I have a 2, which is not a great card for me. It's also probably one of the better cards for you and for everybody else involved. So what we're going to do here is we're going to consider options. So our options are hit and hopefully end up in a position where we have something close to, let's say, a 17, 18, 19. Because I have a 2, which means that even if I have a 10 here, I still get to keep drawing. So we're on a hit. That is a 15, and again is a bust. The same with the position number 2 is going to hit because he's a 13. He now has a 16, he's going to hit again. He now has a 22, he's busted. Position number 3 has a 12, he's going to hit. He has a 19, he's going to stand. You have a 14, you're going to hit as well. You unfortunately bust. And position number 5 is going to stand on his 20. I have a 12, I now have to draw again. I have an 18, which means that position number 3 and position number 5 win, which, good for them. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm actually just going to grab 2 cards out of the deck to show this to you, because we've already run a few hands at this point and I've kind of shown you the basics. So let's show you something a little bit more advanced. Let me grab a pair of, here's one ace, and let me grab another ace in here. Hang on. So when it comes to blackjack, there's something else you can do, which is called splitting. You can split your cards, so you can decide, hey, I've been dealt 2 aces, which is technically a soft 12, which is not a great hand, but you can split them, and what that means is you take another one of your chips and you bet again, so you now have 2 bets going. Now you can technically split for as many spaces as there are open on the table. So for example, if you have 2 empty spaces on your table, you can split twice. So for example, if I was to deal you another ace, you could split that again and put down another bet, assuming you have the funds for it, of course. And then what would happen there is I would obviously deal you cards, so I'm going to deal at the top in this case. So position number 1 is a 16, position number 2 is a 20, and position number 3 is a 18. So unfortunately you didn't get a blackjack on any of your hands, which is very, very unfortunate. But that's the general rule of thumb. You want to split aces, and slightly less intuitively is 8s. So for example, let me grab a pair of 8s out of the deck here. There's 1. Ace of hearts and the ace of spades. Lovely. 8 of spades. So with 8s as well, you have the same thing, right, where, think about it, the dealer's always trying to aim for at least 17, and on a soft 17 they often have to hit 2. So if they have an ace and a 6, they're still hitting. So if you have a pair of 8s, you're winning against the dealer more often than not. So that's the hope, right, is that you will draw there, and let's say you split those 8s and you have, let's say, let me shuffle this deck for a second. Let's say then you pull a 10 in one and a 10 in the other. That means you have 2 18s on the deck, and let's say I draw, let me pull just 2 random cards from the deck here, a 2 and a 6, so now I have an 8 as well, so it's not particularly great for you. But then let's say I hit a 3, which is 11, which is also not great for you. I hit again, I hit blackjack, which is really bad. That's an awful demonstration on my behalf. But let's say if I had hit the next card instead of that 3, which is a 7, which means I instead have 2, 8, 7, 15, I hit 25, you win those both hands, you walk out of there with a little bit more money maybe than you came in. That's a general rule of thumb with blackjack. So, any other questions? You want to get another drink? Yeah, sure, absolutely. You're driving after all, so I'll have another drink. Thank you. Right. Let's see. Anything else I'm thinking of in blackjack? Here's what I'll do. Right, I've obviously had a long day. I'm missing certain things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have this drink you just bought me, and then afterwards you're going to drive me home. I'm going to go to bed, and in the morning I want you to text me and remind me to send you the book of Blackjack so you can read and study it, because it'll tell you a little bit more than what I can remember right now, because it has been a bit of time since I've actually played blackjack, so I don't know the specifics of all of the combinations of cards that the dealer can show. But what I can do then at the very least is give you the needs, give you what you need material wise to study. I know you didn't really like studying, but hey, look at it this way, this could cost you money. If you want to get into blackjack, it could cost you money that you don't have to lose. So I would highly recommend doing a little bit of studying on it. Alright? Cool. Alright, let's get this drink and I'll see you when we get home.